Hello viewers, wherever you're watching OGTV across the globe. I welcome you to your darling station, OGTV, the People's Telly, and on your favorite program, Peace and Conflict Resolution. In the studio, I have some guests that will do justice to today's topic that we'll be discussing here today. My name is Obaoluwaseunfunmi Ogunleye. And with me right here in the studio, I have Barrister Adegbenro Ogunbade. You are welcome, Barrister Adegbenro.
Good day.
You're welcome. I also have in the studio with me Comrade Gabriel Oni, next to Barrister Adegbenro. Comrade Gabriel Oni, you are welcome.
Welcome, sir.
And we'll be discussing plea bargaining today. What is plea bargaining and how does it work in our justice system? Barrister Adegbenro, let me start with you. Plea bargaining, we all heard about it. What is the process in making plea bargaining a reality?
Thank you so much. I appreciate your bringing me here. First of all, for the sake of those at home and out there at large, let us introduce to them what is plea bargaining. Plea bargaining is a system where, mostly in a criminal case, where there's an arrangement between the prosecution and the defense to somewhat argue to a point where the accused will accept a guilt of the accusation, as well as take up the possibility of having his offense reduced to a lesser one. In that instance, the sentence and probably the fine that will be charged on that particular crime will be limited. So in this instance, it is a means whereby such cases are resolved on time without wasting resources of the state, without wasting the precious time of the court, and even trying to decongest the number of cases that we have in the courtrooms. And it is not a means which just found itself into our law. It's been employed in many judicial systems across the world, way back. And but probably it had more meaning sometimes in the latter part of the last century in the United States, and particularly in our jurisdiction. By the introduction of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, it was introduced. Section 270 of the ACJA made provision for plea bargaining, whereby if somebody is accused of embezzling some amount of money, if the amount of money is known, and in this regard, particularly the accused being faced with the enormous evidence against him, knowing that there is no escape from justice in this regard, which may likely terminate into a sentence of imprisonment, forfeiture of the proceeds of crime, and so on and so forth. Being faced with such enormity of decision against him, may now decide, okay, let's arrange with the prosecution, let's arrange with the state. What can I offer? What can I just bring down? What can I put on the table for me to have a lesser sentence or probably a lesser charge? So at the end of the day, I don't waste the time of the court in arriving at determining whether I was guilty or not. So it lays everything on the table. The guilty party knows that there is no use wasting the time of the court. Let us just arrive at a conclusion whereby at the end of the day, I will go not scot-free, guilty as charged, but in such a way that the bonding of the guilt will not be so much on him. So that at the end of the day, it is a win-win situation, like we have also mentioned, because it started from bargaining, it started from arguing, it started from negotiating. And in that regard, it is an advantage, it is a plus for the state, it is a plus for the prosecution, as well as a succor for the defense as well.
That's fantastic. Let me take it off from where you mentioned win-win here. And if I may ask, Comrade Oni, you know, at the Multidor is also a win-win court. How do you see multi-door and how do you see plea bargaining working? And how do we make this, how do we balance this? How do we relate it to each other? The multi-door and the plea bargaining. Does it work? How does it work?
Thank you, sir. Like you rightly said, when we talk about the OMDC, the multi-door cut out, as in general, is just that the OMDC, what we look at is, mediation is one of the things we look into there. And in the aspect of mediation is a party-driven, where we need the intervention of a third-party neutral.
Okay.
So it's just the role of the third-party neutral is just to sit down and just facilitate the process among the two parties. So it is the same way in the plea bargaining. When we talk about plea bargaining, who are those parties involved in plea bargaining? We have the prosecution, the defendant, the court itself, and the victim of which the case was being charged against. So what we are saying is that all we just need to do is to sit down together, look, as the barrister have rightly said, it is a win-win. That is what we will look into. Win-win. What can you drop? It is not where you come and say, okay, a victor and a vanquished. No, it is where you sit down and look at, okay, this is what I will take. I will have to drop this. So that is the whole essence of mediation when you bring in bargaining, because the plea bargaining of a thing is more or less like, as we are talking about, mediation. What can we do? How can we find lasting solutions to this in the interest of peace?
Okay. In the interest of peace, both parties want to come to round table, settle their differences, and reduce the workload on the court. Let me come this way, Barrister Ogungbade. If we are to agree on that note, Party A, the defendant, and the prosecution, they all have to agree before the plea bargaining. Who and who? There are two questions I want to ask you. Must the defendant have a lawyer to represent him in the negotiation? That is one. Another thing is this: who and who must be in the negotiation?
Well, basically from the definition I gave earlier, the major party concerns are the prosecution as well as the defense. Prosecution entails either the police or the department or the agency's lawyer that is prosecuting the case.
Okay.
And on the defense side is the accused or defendant himself, as well as his counsel, if he is represented. If he is not represented, it is not always necessary that a lawyer must be present. But what is at stake here is probably the final solution of reaching a verdict of guilt for the accused. Okay. If somebody has a kind of conviction hanging on his neck, you understand? Let me even start from where it began. During the trial of former IGP Tafa Balogun, it was employed. During Cecilia Ibru's trial as well, it was employed. The basis of it was that, look at the charge against you. You have been accused of misappropriating this much amount of money. Okay, we have discovered through our evidence that is from the prosecution side. We have discovered through our evidence that this amount of money must definitely have been misappropriated by you. So what can you say to it? Seeing at that moment in time that he has been caught hands down. So there is no defense that can altercate that. There is no defense that can erase that. So in that regard, the necessary thing to do when it comes to now bargaining about it is that, okay, you have found this one so far. Okay, I surrender. This is the total amount that I can as well lay my hands on now that will come down. In this instance, it is the accused side. It is the defense side that is surrendering what he has been accused of. And that is the essence of the plea bargain. It is not always like my fellow here said that it is party concerned, parties driven. from A side to B side. They agree together. What is the bone of contention between us? What are we trying to figure out in this kind of trial? And you know, we must not, miss the point that it only occurs in a criminal trial, but mostly with ones that has to do with financial misappropriation. It is not applicable in all trials. It is not applicable in all serious offenses. Like murder, there is no plea bargain for that. Yes. Like rape, there is no plea bargain for that. But mostly in financial cases, that is when you can now say, okay, at least you can still give something back. You can still, by this amount of money that you can release, succor can come to the victim. At the end of the day, he is not losing all. That is, he will be satisfied that the judicial system has been able to, settle him to a certain degree. And in that regard, it is a win solution, a win situation for the victim, a kind of succor as well for the defense as well, because he will walk away not entirely with the proceeds of his crime, but with a feeling of guilt that this does not pay. And in another instance, he will not have the mind to do that kind of thing because of what he has been reduced to. The public opprobrium that he has been that he has seen all through the while that the trial was going. Okay. So in this regard, the parties, it is parties driven, and it is always between them, the prosecution as well as the defense.
Okay. Before I move on, let's quickly go on a short break. Welcome back to the show. It's your program, Peace and Conflict Resolution. Comrade Oni, you see, this in recent time, we have in a financial issues like that, one governor, one political, politician, let me say, in general. But how do you see this? Because when we have a financial dispute in the court where you have a single person having like 20, 25 sons on a matter just to defend himself. If we are to consider this plea bargaining of a thing, do you think the plea bargaining will will be of advantage to our economy?
Yes, it will be of an advantage to our economy in the sense that even like the barrister in the house, as I said, he said it will be beneficial to even the court himself, the court itself, even the defendant too. And because one thing we must look here is that plea bargaining, the reason why we are going, one of the advantage of plea bargaining is that it is cost effective.
Cost effective,
yes. Okay. And when you look at the other side of it, it again cause the influx of people into the prison. So it's just like like you rightly said, the Administration of Criminal Justice, ACJL, and what they are looking at there is the restorative justice aspect. So when it will definitely add.
Let me say something about that.
Okay.
Anybody who is accused of a crime, has the constitutional right to be represented, to have representation in his favor, either with a lawyer or by himself.
Okay.
And if he so wills, he might get a senior advocate of Nigeria.
Okay.
Depending on his purse, he can as well take as much as he wants.
Okay.
So that one does not decide whether the plea bargaining process will go on.
Okay.
And even at the end of the day, if the party decide that no, it doesn't want to go on ahead, the process runs out.
Okay.
The process goes on. It doesn't stop criminal prosecution.
Yes.
Then it will add up to maybe the dockets of the court. This matter is going for trial. You know, if you are at the stage of plea bargaining, you are for closing trial at that stage.
Yes.
There will be no need for you to go to trial, call witnesses, get them to attend court on each day. And you know, all of these witnesses that come, mostly official, they pay them money.
Yes,
sure.
So if you accede to that process of plea bargaining, it removes all that. and that is the aspect in which it reduces the financial
burden.
aspect, the financial burden on the judicial system.
Okay, that's a great one. And as we have mentioned earlier, plea bargaining is also a way to avoid going to jail, I think.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
if that is it, do you see plea bargaining? You know, most of the cases, plea bargaining is mostly is about financial issues. We've been talking about discongesting of prison here and there, and most of the Chief Justice of Nigeria and other Chief Justice in the states across Nigeria, they are doing fantastically well to make sure they discongest prison. Do you see plea bargaining, if plea bargaining is embraced, do you see discongesting our prison, Barrister Agbero?
Of course. Because, but one thing we should try to understand, even from all these aspects, is the fact that at any point that the process is introduced,
Okay.
whatever decision, whatever negotiation that is arrived at will be subjected to being ordered by the court.
Yes.
Whatever you decide, okay, the defense has agreed to refund this so amount to the purse of the state, or yes, and the state has agreed to say, okay, from that high degree crime, that crime has now been reduced to a lower one,
Yes.
and in which just an option of fine will be given. And in that regard, like I mentioned earlier on, the the court will still come to a decision of guilty to the accused person.
Okay.
The court will still come to a decision based on this charge. The accused is guilty, but on the process of the plea bargaining that has been ventured into, sentence will be reduced to this degree.
Yes.
And in that regard, if that is reduced, the possibility of a prison or custodial sentence is removed.
Okay.
So such kind of accused is sure that definitely he will walk home free, but with a conviction on him. He's already a convict.
He's already a convict.
He's already a convict.
Barrister Adegbero, the plea bargaining are like in three types. We have plea bargaining on the charges, we have it on the sentencing, and on the fact. What do they mean by the fact, the sentencing, and on the charge?
The
I want you to throw more light on
process itself will dance around these three that have just been mentioned.
Yes.
Like the system is, if you are venturing into plea bargaining now, the charge itself, by the time the court will make final pronouncement on it, it will not be that higher degree of offense that the person will be punished for.
Okay.
It will not be that higher degree that the person will be punished for. Then it gives the defense or gives the accused an inkling of something has been reduced on his head. And that's an advantage or an open mind for him to say, okay, just give all. Just come out with all. If you know that possibly you are being faced with a charge that carries like life imprisonment.
Okay.
And at the end of the day now, they are now looking at, okay, we can just give you something that will give you 2 years. And if it is 2 years, it is possible for them to say there's an option of fine.
Okay.
So it works on that one as well. And sentencing as well, if the charge is reduced, the sentencing is also down the drain. It means the higher level or the higher degree of sentencing that will be given initially will now be reduced to a lower one, which gives the accused the leeway, a rope for him to not necessarily escape justice, just for him to, having left the side, to part with some of what he has been accused of to a lesser degree. So it works on those three aspects. And even the fact as well, the fact remains
The
You
fact
understand?
will
The fact remains, but the fact will not be so used to do the sentencing.
How do you mean?
Like somebody that has agreed that, okay, you have accused me of 300 million naira. Okay, I agree to 200.
Okay.
I agree to 200. These other ones, maybe we can say it doesn't come through me, or that kind of, it has an explanation.
Yes.
We can be investigated at the end of the day. You know, it has reduced, it has changed the fact entirely. It introduced a kind of process in which all those nitty-gritty things that will weigh heavily against the defense, against the accused person, will be ameliorated, will be reduced.
Okay. Let me come to you, Comrade Oni. You see, at the mediation, as a mediator, you see, when cases of, when cases of a financial issue, ups and downs, the pros and cons of it, when it comes up like that, how do you resolve matters like that that has to do with families or at a workplace, especially in the banking system?
Thank you, sir. Most times, when you look at when matter like this occurs, maybe in family or workplace, like we all know that it's something that we do, that we see every time.
In the name of peace.
Yes, all in the name of peace. Let's use banking as an example. Somebody that went to a bank to borrow money. Okay, you borrowed so amount of money. You heard of the interest rate.
Where I'm actually going is this. Oftentimes we had one money left one account to another person, fraudulently, and before the bank will go to that account, somebody must have taken the money, and that kind of a thing.
Okay.
Someone's money, you understand? So that is where I'm going. How, in such situation, how do we?
The only thing is for us to, once we have that type of, all we just need to do is to call. We need somebody, a representative from the bank.
Okay.
We need the complainant too will be there.
Okay.
Whereby maybe we always understand there is a back end.
So it works at mediation.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
So it all works. All we just need to do is to go down to the root of the matter and see what we can do.
Fantastic. Thank you, viewers. I appreciate you. Thank you for being there. This is where we'll be calling it a day here. And if you have been with us since the starting of this program, you will know my guest has done fantastically, and they have done justice to the topic today on plea bargaining. Comrade Oni Gabriel, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And to you, Barrister Adegbenro.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming. I hope when next we call on you, you'll be here. Yes. Thank you so much. Oba Oluwaseunfunmi Ogunleye is my name. See you on the same station, OGTV, the People's Tele, the same time and same day. See you there.